Hello world, I'm here today with my new Instax Wide Evo, and I just recently got this and took it out to shoot for the first time at the beautiful Longwood Gardens, and thought I would share how that day went. As someone who's shot strictly with various Polaroid cameras and an RF70 over the last couple of years, this is my first camera that has any kind of like digital situation going on. So it was definitely a different shooting experience, and I am excited to share kind of my personal pros and cons and hear what other people thought about these different elements. So let's go to Longwood Gardens, see how the pictures look, and talk about my thoughts. So if you're not familiar with this camera yet, it's basically a digital instant film camera, which is unique. And that being the case, it gives you a lot of like customization and autonomy over your instant photography that you wouldn't get with the other cameras out there. So for example, you can put filters onto pictures, you can rotate them, crop them, zoom in, brighten them before you print them, all sorts of things, which is really cool, and, things that I still need to test out as time goes on, but we'll talk about a few of them today. We're starting off with a con, and my first con is that this camera has no viewfinder to look through. It just has the screen, and that's just so different than the Polaroids and the RF70, and I found it to be kind of challenging to be taking a photo like this as opposed to this, and there were times at the gardens that I couldn't really see the screen. There was like a glare, or just the lighting was weird. So that was right off the bat like the first thing that I didn't love, and I can work with it, but definitely was my first con. So something that I'm going to say is both a pro and a con for me is that you can take kind of endless amounts of pictures with this. One of the things I love about instant photography is the fact that you are limited in your photos, and that causes you to kind of slow down, be in the moment, be much more intentional with what you choose to photograph, and that element is kind of gone with this because you can take as many as you want, you can pick and choose, and delete a ton, and then just print one of like 50 different shots of the same thing, which in the end I think I appreciated because I was able to pick the pictures I liked, but it definitely is just different. And I think I do prefer having, the limited choices because it just makes me think more about the picture I'm going to take. But, I could see the benefit of both. Another con of this camera is the fact that it has a battery that has to be charged. So This lasted about 3 hours, which was the whole time we were at Longwood Gardens. But towards the end of the day, it was definitely approaching death's door. So that concerns me because normally on my photo missions, I'm in nature, hiking, exploring for hours for the whole day. And if I were to have this and it were to die in the middle of the day, I would be devastated. I'd be so sad and very frustrated. So that's something that I don't love about this. And, you know, I guess I could get like a portable charger, but it's just kind of like a hassle to lug another thing around. So, con. Okay, let's talk about my favorite thing about this camera so far is the fact that you can wait to print everything until whenever. And I love that. As I said, normally when I'm taking photos, I'm kind of out in nature. I've got my backpack, all that kind of crap with me. So I take a Polaroid, I gotta put it in my box, put it in my bag. You know, it's just a lot of stuff in my hands. And so the fact that you can take this, take all your photos, and then when you get home or back to your campsite or wherever, print them all out. Amazing. I loved that. That's probably my favorite thing. Another huge pro about this camera for me is I mentioned it has all of like the filters and stuff like that, and you can take a color photo, switch it to black and white, and then print it. You don't have to get black and white film and color film and then be in the moment and be like, ugh, I wish this was black and white, and sorry, you can't do it. With this, you can. So that is really cool. And I would say that's definitely one of the top pros of this, and I will certainly be taking advantage of that on my adventures. Okay. Those are my pros and cons after my first day using my Instax Wide Evo. So I think my takeaway from that first day is that I can't really compare this to my Polaroids. I mean, it's just very different shooting experiences, and they both have their pros and cons. I think the pros of this outweigh the cons, and I'll definitely continue to use it, and I'm excited to use it on my upcoming spring, summer, fall adventures. And if you've not seen my other videos out in nature, I hope you check those out, and I'll look forward to making some new videos in nature with this in the coming months. So I'd love to hear what you think about this camera, if you agree or disagree, or, you know, if you have any advice for me. I will look forward to hearing that, and I hope you have a great day.